Hi, I'm Brandy. Welcome to the Broke Homestead. Me and my partner Matt live in southern Illinois where we garden, we love to preserve, we have some small animals, and as the name implies, we are broke. So we do all this on a really tight budget. Now, we just moved into this house last year. That's my house behind me. It is a manufactured home. That is my garage with a broken door. We have almost an acre here, about 0.9 acres. It's a nice quiet road. We only have a couple of neighbors and we really like them, so that helps a lot. We started with basically weeds, which I'm going to show you because most of our property is still like that. And our soil sucks. It is hard clay and there's no nutrients. Our plants that we have planted are doing pretty bad, so we're going to have to fix that in the future. There's a lot of wildlife here. And I'm going to give you a little tour of the homestead and the work that needs to be done. That's our neighbor's house, sorry. The property that we own, we live in the trailer that you saw behind me, the manufactured home. It's newer, it's 99, it has a metal roof, it's in good condition overall. Needed a little work when we moved in. Like I said, the house is on 0.9 acres. It has a detached garage with no electricity. And there's a second older single wide that is not livable that we need to get rid of. But it does have a second home site, which does add value. And we paid $28,000 for the property. That is super cheap. It was a foreclosure. They were asking a little more, but it had been on the market for like a year. So anyway, I'm going to give you a tour of the property and tell you what we're doing. And then we're going to be recording a lot of our progress and projects and all the things we do on a really tight budget. So if you're wanting to get into gardening or homesteading and you're on a budget like we are, subscribe and see what we can show you. Okay, so this is the edge of our property over here where all these trees are, and it's just like a ton of maple saplings. We have like a ton of maple trees, and property goes back there. That's the second trailer that isn't livable that we have to get rid of. And all these trees, there's a pecan tree there, there's another big pecan tree back there, and there's two walnut trees in the corner. So they're too big for us to actually like pick or shake, but anything that falls off that's good we can eat. This goes back pretty far. There's probably a quarter of an acre over here. And eventually we want to get that cleaned up and amend the soil and garden over there, plant some fruit trees, things like that. And this is just more area. This is our detached garage with a broken door. It's another project that we want to work on. And then over here is our yard. And this, where it's all overgrown, this is what the whole property looked like when we bought it. Like the whole thing. There's just weeds everywhere. It was neglected, but we don't have a lawnmower and we can't afford buying one, so we can't really mow it, so we just leave it for the bees. We have a couple of raised beds that we built in the fall, but nothing to fill them with. I do plan on getting the weed eater out. We need a new blade for it. We use blades instead of string, and chopping a whole bunch of stuff down and composting it over the winter, so that should give us some stuff to fill the beds with. And then over here we have, so we did till this whole thing up. We do have a tiller. We tilled this whole area up and we planted some stuff, and the weeds have just massively grown back because we don't have anything to put down as a weed barrier or mulch. That's something we're hoping to work on next year, maybe even just cardboard. But this whole row right here is sunflowers. And then over here we have corn. This whole area down there to the end of the sunflowers is planted with corn. That's it right there. It's doing fine. Some of it's a little yellow. Probably need to fertilize it a little bit, but it's growing and it's doing pretty well, so I'm happy. Then over here on this side where those orange flags are, we planted a whole row of San Marzano tomatoes because we really wanted to can pasta sauce this year, but only a few of them sprouted and started growing, and that's where these flags are. We put them in so we could find them among the weeds. but like you can see this one here pretty well. There's actually like 3 there. I'm gonna wait until they get bigger to separate them, but there are like 3 in this one, and I think 3 in this one, maybe 2 in that one, but only 1 there. It's my little guy. So that'll give us really probably 8 or 9 plants if they survive being transplanted. And then nothing else grew over here, so we've been ignoring the weeds and not weeding because nothing grew. And then we tilled all the way back to the back there, and right about here we planted strawberry and asparagus crowns, and none of those grew either. And I think that's my fault. I think I left them in the packages. It was the kind that comes in the little plastic bags with the holes in it from like Walmart, and I think I left them in the packages too long and they dried out before we planted them. This is my cat Spike. He follows us around outside. It's really cute. That flag is a honeysuckle and that one is a zucchini that I started inside but did not do a good job of hardening off, and it freaked out when I put it outside, and it is not doing well. Although it has 2 flowers, it's not nearly big enough to be flowering. So, and then this whole area from where I'm standing over to that tree and that way, as far as all the weeds are, we had tilled that up and planted all kinds of stuff out here. We planted tomatoes, peppers, tons of peppers, hot peppers and sweet peppers, because we love peppers, and some other stuff like zucchini and melons. And the only thing that grew was this one zucchini that I had started indoors. All the other plants that I started indoors died when I put them outside because like I said, I did not do a good job of hardening them off. It was totally my fault again. But other than that, 5 tomatoes grew. Those stakes were where the tomatoes were, but we moved them. I'll show them to you in a second. And that's it. So we haven't bothered weeding or tilling here. I actually feed a lot of this to my rabbits. So I didn't want to till it up when there's nothing planted here, because there's a lot of clover and grass and dandelions in here that, and sorrel that's good for the rabbits. So that's what's there. Here is the garden area. So what happened is after this whole area also did this, but there was nothing planted here. We hadn't planted anything yet. So we re-tilled it, and since nothing else grew, we replanted a bunch of stuff. And then we moved the tomatoes. So this is one that started growing, and there's 6 tomatoes here. And I think the end one down there has 3 in a clump, but they're too small to take apart yet. So we moved those. Oh, and there's a couple more over there. Anyway, and then because all our peppers didn't make it, we bought pepper starts because I didn't have any more seeds for anything except for California Wonder red bell pepper. So these are a bunch of spicy bell peppers. There's like jalapenos, serranos, a banana pepper too. I don't remember what else, but poblanos. Anyway, those are all starts that we bought. And here's a tip: if you are poor like us, if you get food stamps, you can buy any food producing seed or plant with your food stamps. So you can buy seeds, you can buy berry bushes, strawberries, asparagus, potato starts, onion starts, any kind of bush or cane, fruit trees, everything. You just have to buy them somewhere that takes food stamps, like Walmart, Fred Meyer's if you're on the West Coast. You can't get them at like Home Depot because they don't take food stamps. So that's how I got the peppers and a lot of our seeds, and also our tomato and onion or potato and onion sets. And then anyway, this whole row are pickling cucumbers. We love to make pickles, so I'm excited that these are doing well. And then all of these beans that you see, these are all pretty much all beans. Those are all bush beans. There's a bunch of dragon tongue, and there's some green beans as well. But they're all the bush type, so they're not going to get very tall. They're not going to vine up. And then over here we have covered in weeds, but it's fine. I've been kind of keeping up on the weeds to make sure they grow. There's a bunch of onions. They're doing really, really well. And a bunch of potatoes, also doing really, really well. There are 2 Swiss chard plants that my daughter planted. This one, and there's a red one down there. And then there's some sweet potatoes, but these vines are getting eaten. All of the sweet potatoes, they're growing, but the leaves are getting eaten. And that's the other Swiss chard right here. It's too hot for Swiss chard. It's gonna bolt. We planted it earlier in the year and it just didn't grow. I think this actually might be parsley because we do have a bunch of herbs and I'm not sure where my daughter planted what. But the potatoes are doing great. This area is doing so well, I think, because this is where we dumped our rabbit bedding and then we tilled the soil before we planted everything. So it was highly fertilized and doing really well. And then over here in the corner, we have a whole nother row of sunflowers back here. We really like sunflowers. We either feed them to our chickens or save the seeds for the following year. We don't eat them ourselves. We just really like the flowers and the chickens love them. It's a good way to supplement their feed in the winter. And then there are several pecan trees up there. That one looks like it got broken. I think a deer might have jumped over right here actually, because the fence is kind of damaged and I heard some crashing through here the other day. So I think that was a deer. This T-post right here is bent back and both of the fences on the other side are slacked. I don't know what to call that. They're like down. And then this branch right here on the pecan tree is broken. So, and we have had deer get caught in our fence before. So that might be what happened there. That's kind of funny. And then this little pathetic mulberry tree is one of our, we have quite a few of mulberry trees. Did I say those are pecan trees? I don't know if I said that, but there's several pecan trees right there. Our property does go past this fence. It goes about 8 or 10 more feet that way. There's just a ditch right there, so this was the better place to put our fence. So the pecan trees and the mulberry tree are on our property. But anyway, this is a mulberry tree. The mulberries are ripe already. They started getting ripe in mid-May, and this tree produces the most beautiful, big, sweet, delicious mulberries. I absolutely love them. They're really, really good. So you guys are going to laugh at my beehive. I bought a beehive last year and we do not have enough money to fix it. So this is one hive. So my husband bought me this bee box. It was empty, of course. We just bought it at the store. And then when I bought a beehive from, you know, a swarm, basically, the guy that I bought it from put it in one of these travel hives and he put some comb, some honeycomb in there, some turkey. What are you doing? Get off the fence. Get off the fence, sweetie. Oh, she needs to have her wings trimmed. She likes to do that. Anyway, the beehive, the guy that I got the swarm from, he put it in this. He put some like larva, whatever, brood stuff in there. This is my first year with bees, so obviously I know nothing. And then we had this one. We could not afford to buy another one of these, which is what we needed to do. And those frames do not fit in that box. So what we ended up doing is cutting a hole in the bottom of this, cutting a hole in the top of this, and fixing them together. The bees closed up the hole on here. They didn't like having two entrances, so they closed that up, and they just used this entrance. And they're very happy, healthy bees. We are going to have to get a second, sorry, they were coming out, I got too close. We're going to have to get a second box, bottom box, this year. I'm not taking any honey right now. If there's a lot in there when we open it up, we will take some. It is completely glued shut. This lid is glued shut. This is glued to this, sorry. And this is all glued shut too. They did an amazing job of sealing themselves in for the winter, and we cannot open it without bee suits and smoke and some chisels. So we're gonna do that sometime soon, but I don't know when. We have quite a few birds. I'm gonna let my husband do a animal tour because he really is the animal guy. But this is a turkey that we found in our front yard, and we cannot find a neighbor that owns any birds. So we have no idea who she belonged to. So we told everyone, if you hear of anyone that loses a turkey, send them our way. And it's been about 3 weeks and we still have her. Nobody has come over. That's Henrietta. That is a Buff Orpington. We are going to sell, we have quite a few. we're going to sell some of them when they start laying hens. So that's one of the ways that we try to supplement our chicken feed. Anyway, that's right there is another mulberry tree. And then there's another mulberry tree back there and a huge one in the very back. I'm not going to go back there right now. And then there's also 2 more pecan trees back there in the backyard where the chickens live. And up here I have beans. I planted cucamelons and cucumbers in here, and only 2 cucumbers sprouted, this one and this one, and none of the cucamelons made it. The pole beans did. They look good. And then we don't have any money for a trellis for these, so we're going to use some maple saplings and branches. There's another one, sorry, a bug just landed on me. There's another one laying on the ground right there that my dog knocked over. And in the next few days, we're going to put this together. And we're going to make a free trellis, and I will record that because that's the kind of stuff we do around here since we are broke. That right there is a pineapple sage. It smells amazing. We got it last year and it did make it through the winter. I was kind of surprised. And then one thing we did last year is we let our chickens out for one thing because we didn't have a garden here yet. And we fed our chickens homemade feed that had hard red winter wheat in it. And a bunch of wheat sprouted all over our yard. There's some there, but my dog has kind of trampled it. But there's a bunch around here, and there's some here and there, and there's more on the other side of the cars over there. But we're letting it grow. I'm going to let it dry on the stalk. I'm going to harvest all of it, and then next year I'm going to plant it intentionally. And we're going to do that for a couple years until we have enough to actually save to feed our chickens. And then over here, this is a cheap trellis that we made. When I do the trellis video, I'll do one on this. We had these PVC pipes already. The only thing we had to put on them for plants to grow up was bird netting, but it is working very well. They are climbing up on their own. I did feed them through the bottom a little bit when they when they first started getting tall and vining, sending the tendrils out. Sorry, I got distracted by my cats. Also on that, where all these are more pole beans, I planted a bunch of cucumbers there as well. Like, I planted mini munchers or alphabet, I can't remember, and Armenian, long white Armenian cucumbers, and only one grew. It's back here. It's right back there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that sucks. I'm gonna have to plant more cucumbers because the only cucumbers I have growing are those 3 and pickling cucumbers. But this is a hosta my neighbor gave us. He gave us a bunch of hostas. They're all over the place. My husband didn't know that they are shade-loving plants, so he just kind of planted them wherever. And I like it here, but I don't know how well it will do. I guess we'll find out. This is a lemon balm. And yeah, my neighbor gave that to me too. Different neighbor. She gave this to me and it's been here for over a year and it's doing really well. But anyway, those are the beans. Those are the trellises. This is the rest of the property. It is just a mess. And it was worse than this when we bought it. It had garbage everywhere, like everywhere. There's still garbage everywhere. We just can't seem to get it cleaned up. Every time the chickens scrape the ground, it seems like, or every time it rains, more garbage comes up. So we have this whole big area back here. That is actually cardboard that we put on the ground. That's not garbage that was here to kill the weeds. And then the weeds started growing up through the cardboard. So that didn't go as planned. But anyway, we have this whole area, and like I said, we'll get rid of that trailer, and then that'll give us a lot of space over here. It's kind of early in the morning, so it's shaded, but this gets almost all sun. A little bit of morning shade, and the rest of the day sun. So it's a good area. Here's more of the wheat I was telling you about right there, and right there. Around my van that's broken down. It needs a new alternator, and we can't afford it. There's more wheat at my feet here, and those are weeds, not sunflowers. I was going to say that's another sunflower, but it's not. Anyway, the back area over here, there's a pecan tree there, There's one of my Muscovy ducks. There's another one over there hiding. And oh, look at this. My mama duck is right here with a bunch of her babies. These babies just hatched yesterday. I think she has 10 or 11. Last time I counted there was 9. My husband said one more hatched. But there was still 4 eggs in the nest, so we're not sure. I don't know because I haven't looked how many there are now. But yeah, super cute. She is the best duck. She's the sweetest thing. She was super protective of her nest. And she's adorable. I think she's going to be a really good mom too, judging from her behavior. So anyway, that mama Muscovy is sitting on a nest. Obviously not right this second, but she's a week or 2 behind this one. So we'll have more pretty soon. Anyway, that's the end of the tour. Okay, well, that is the beginning of our homestead. Hopefully by later next year it will look much better. In the meantime, we'll be doing a lot of projects and we plan on taking you along with us. So if you want budget ideas for homesteading, like the trellis I'm going to build out of scrap branches, that will be in an upcoming video. So stick around, subscribe, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.